Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of the Noisy Neighbours podcast. Bryan Mbeumo to Manchester United for £71 million was agreed this afternoon. We are reacting to the transfer fee. How does he fit? How does he fit with Diallo? How much pressure is on Ruben Amorim now to push on with these two new signings? Let's get it.
Alex, right, here we go. We have waited a long time for this. Well, you have waited a long time for this. So we're looking at the Bryan Mbeumo. Here we go. Finally dropped today. 65 million plus 6 in add-ons, I believe. Now, what are you thinking, my bro? How are we feeling? You happy?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think sometimes when transfers can take a long time to happen, I think they sometimes you're almost stale by the time it's announced.
Yeah.
The thing with this is it never felt in the balance. He said he wanted United from day one. I think it was 50 days ago, the original Ornstein tweet where he said Bryan Mbeumo has picked Manchester United. So, look, United have hard negotiated with this, and it looks like they've ended up paying what Brentford wanted anyway. Yeah. I think this is the problem with not having a plan B. But we'll come to the fee and the transfer itself. Let's talk about Bryan Mbeumo, Christian, because you're right. We obviously got Cunha very early, had a release clause. We've now got Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford. These two players were high on the list for fans, club, Ineos, and they have pulled them off. However which way they've done it, we haven't played a preseason game, and they have signed both of them, subject to probably a medical, right? So you've got to be happy about this, United fans. Let me tell you why you've got to be happy about this, because Bryan Mbeumo and Cunha scored a combined 36 league goals last season. Manchester United barely scored more than that as a team. We were toothless up front. Now, we still need a number 9, by the way. This is 2 out of the 3, but I really do believe these two were the right ones to get. And there is question marks, which we'll get into the fit, and obviously there's a clash with Diallo on that side as well, which we'll come to also. We haven't got a number 9 yet, so what 9 do you pair with these two? But generally, let's just keeping it quite simple at this point, and we'll get into the details, Christian. Bryan Mbeumo scored 20 goals last season. 5 of them were pens, 15 were open play as a right forward at Brentford. A lot of those were edge-of-the-box goals, nice little semi-transition moments. I've really
got points
pleased
on that as well. Yeah, I'll let you keep flowing, bro. But I've got a few points on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, just in a nutshell, I think it's a brilliant pickup. Honestly, I think the striker pool is quite poor at the moment. We have picked up the guy who's got 20 league goals last season. Cunha got 16. Prem proven. We've not done this. We've signed Mason Mount. Mason Mount's the only Prem player we've signed in years, and he was shit. So we've actually signed 2 Prem players that are good. I've got high expectations now, and we'll get to Amorim. But what's your reaction in a nutshell initially before we get into the detail of this signing?
For me as a City fan, I think it's a really good pickup for one of a couple of reasons. Yes, his quality, like you said, you just touched on it yourself. We'll deeper delve into his numbers, and of course that's a big factor for the deal and why it makes sense. However, for me, it's what you want, and what I've banged on to you about, Alex, is player profile and picking the right players. It's not just about their ability. It's about what they bring as a whole. This guy, you made a great point. He picked Manchester United. He wants to play for you. And that is, don't underestimate how important that actually is. You know what I mean? Because you get these players these days, and they have no love for the club. They're a bit soulless. Thinking of a certain Jadon Sancho, for instance, and to be fair, you've had quite a lot of them over the past, I'd say, 10 years, really. Now, I think it's a nice fresh change for you. You've got Mbeumo, you've got Cunha, and they both look like they want to play for the club. They both look like they can't wait to get going. What Mbeumo brings more than that, I mean, Alex, I had a little look at his stats, and obviously we know his goals and his assists, which were impressive in their own, but I was just looking, and I'm not someone that really leans on XG or anything like that, but Bryan Mbeumo's expected goals XG last year was 12.3, right? He scored 20. Now, what that tells you, see, I'm not someone who would usually bring up XG. I don't particularly like it, and I know a lot of people maybe watching won't like it either. I totally respect that. But I thought this was important to touch on, because what that is telling you is he's scoring goals in a simple terms that he shouldn't really be scoring. Now, Man United don't really have anyone other than Bruno that can actually do that. I mean, United don't have anyone that can score the easy goals. Having someone that can unlock from difficult angles and score goals that really can come out of nothing. You've not had this for a long time, and I do feel like it's huge.
Yeah, 100%. XG is something that I had that I wanted to bring up to you, and I'm not a massive fan of it. But what's really interesting, especially because we'll chuck Cunha in as well with this, out of the XG overperformers last season, the top three, and Mbeumo, you just said +7 on what he actually scored.
Yeah.
Second was, I think, Chris Wood, and then third was Matheus Cunha. Now, Cunha outperformed his XG by 6.4. Bryan Mbeumo outperformed his by 7.7. Also, Mbeumo, the thing is that you go flash in a pan. Is he a one-season wonder? And Mbeumo's stats have been gradually getting better. Yes, it was 9, then 20. But the 9 last year came in 25 appearances. He had injuries. The 9 2 years ago was in 38. He played a full 38-game season, as he did last year. So really, you've got 9, then you've got 9 in 25, so asterisks, and then you've got 20 in 38. You're looking at a curve like this. This isn't like your James Beattie or Andy Johnson or any of these guys or Meat Shoes of the world who came in and scored 20 goals and then we never saw them again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This looks like we've got a curve like this. Now, I hope we are still on the rise of this curve because that would be phenomenal for United. But if it's 20, look, we haven't had anybody score 20 goals since. It might be Van Persie. I don't know whether Zlatan did it. Forgive me if he did. I don't believe Rashford and Martial ever did. I think it might be Van Persie scored over 20 league goals last for Man United. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It must be a fresh change for you as well. I know we've been doing this a while now, and the one thing you've been pissed off at is these punts, because the punts aren't small 10 million punts anymore. They're now like 70, 80 million. So that means they're not punts really. That's your star signing, and they're either going to work or they're not. And more often than not, they're not working. Now, what does it mean to you that you're actually going Prem proven? I think it's a real good step. I really think it's a good direction that Amorim's going in, to be honest. And I just wanted to get your feelings.
Yeah,
on it,
for
especially
sure.
with Cunha and Mbeumo.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I've touched on it. The only Prem player we've really signed in very recent history is Mason Mount. Mason Mount was Prem proven, but he was proven to be rubbish. So why we did that, I will never ever understand that signing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
In my eyes, we haven't signed a good Premier League player for a very long time. You're probably going back to Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, and they didn't really live up to what we paid for them. Not terrible, but definitely not worth the 80 and the 50 we paid for them. These two, you mentioned about the punts. The punts, it's not. Let's not just hammer Højlund. We've done him, a million times on this podcast. Even just this summer, Christian, the punts of Sesko, 80 million. Ekitike, 80 million.
General, in general, it's gone out of control now. It seems like if you're looking at Sesko, and we did a video on the guy, and I've nothing against him, but what are teams looking at? You look at his Bundesliga stats. What are you expecting then? If you're going to go and spend 70, 80 million, well then if he goes and gets 10 goals in the Prem, like I said before, then that's what he was showing you he was going to do in Bundesliga. So you can't be angry at him. That's his level. Clubs nowadays have absolutely lost the marbles. I think why this is a good pickup as well. Yes, it has taken a long time. But in fairness, for the numbers they got last year, I think Mbeumo and Cunha, as Prem-proven players, I think it's really good values that you've got them at. We've seen people that, we've seen players that have blown up in the Prem and maybe even had one good year and their value just bangs and it goes silly. At the start of the year, people were talking about Morgan Gibbs-White saying 100 million. I don't know where that came from because of that release clause. But what I'm saying is, it's rare you can get two players on the back of a real standout season and get them for quite good value. So I think, in fairness, we've hammered United for a long time on their transfers and their policies, but I do feel like they deserve a bit of respect for this one. And as a City fan, obviously, I don't want him to do too well, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do given the chance at a bigger club. We've seen a lot of players. Alex, they wear that shirt and it seems to wear a little bit heavy on certain individuals. And there's a big difference between scoring 20 for Brentford and scoring 20 for Man United. And I think, I wanted to play devil's advocate on that and maybe touch on what the fit of Mbeumo. It's a bit of an interesting one in terms of what you play. How do you think Mbeumo lines up and fits into this current team.
Yeah, I've got a lot to say on this actually, because this is something that we touched on a while back, probably when we got linked, which was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Cunha, perfect fit, plays a 3-4-3 at Wolves. He plays in that inside 10. It is absolutely seamless, and he is 100 times better than Garnacho. Right, this is where it gets interesting. You're right. Bryan Mbeumo's a right forward, so he's going to play in the right 10. Now, United play 3-4-3. Amorim is not changing from this system at all. He's going to die by it. He'll get sacked by it if it comes to that. Yeah. I really hope it doesn't. But that is where we are as a team tactically. It's going to be 3-4-3. Bryan Mbeumo has to play on that right 10. Now, Amad Diallo was one of our better players last season when he was available. He missed a lot of the season. I think he only started 20 Premier League games in the end. So he missed quite a lot of games. And Amad Diallo was one of our better players. Probably our best attacker, really. I think Bruno maybe had a streak there. But I think generally Diallo was the best attacker last season for United. Diallo did experience some games at right wing back. Amorim was trying to do something where it's like, I've got no goals in the team and I'm playing almost 7 defensive players when it was Casemiro, Ugarte, and it was a back 5.
Yeah.
Now, this is my big thing with Amorim now. This right wing back has to be Amad Diallo now. And I know some fans are going to be upset about this because Diallo showed signs of being very good where he played last season. Now, the only way for Ruben Amorim to be a success at Man United is to get Amad Diallo and Bryan Mbeumo to work in the same team on the pitch at the same time. And let me tell you why. So they're quite similar players. They are your stereotypical left-footed right wingers. They like to cut in. They like to do damage coming in on their favoured foot. However, they're slightly different players, and this is why I think it could work, Christian. So Bryan Mbeumo is he's a more of a Mo Salah type right forward, where he's not interested in progressing your team up the pitch. Mo Salah wants to receive it in the areas he's devastating in, which is that radius of 5-10 yards on the corner of the penalty box. Diallo likes to pick it up deeper, and he progresses the football a lot further than Mbeumo. Mbeumo he doesn't want to pick it up on the halfway line and carry it. He doesn't want to play give and goes. And Mbeumo wants to receive it one-on-one with the defender, which he usually does, work that yard, get his left foot shot off, and he has proven last season and the season before, he's very good at it. He's got good shooting stats. He's efficient. He's accurate with that shooting. Now,
for sure.
Diallo, I was just going to say Diallo is in the transition style winger, even though they'll both like to cut in. Now, what I'm looking at is, if those two are in the same team, your fullback can only pick up one of them by theory. If you're playing a team that plays 4 at the back, which is usually. This is where the 3-4-3 has to get the upper hand, because one picks up Diallo, that frees up Mbeumo. Who's picking up Mbeumo? Is that the centre-back? Because Mbeumo has been working yards all season on fullbacks. Now, I'm looking at this going, if I'm Amorim, you have to go all in now on this Diallo right wing back. Diallo, you pin that fullback back. We ain't playing a back 5 this year. We're Man United, Christian. We ain't playing 5 defenders. Diallo occupies the fullback, and Mbeumo does damage in that inside pocket where he's been lethal, really. I don't want Mbeumo picking it up too deep. I don't need him picking it up deep. Diallo can do the dribbling. Diallo can do the passing. Diallo can create those isolations that Mbeumo's been fantastic in. And that's where I think it's going to work, where, yes, similar players might tread on each other's toes, might take some reps, but they're slightly different styles, I hope, blend, and we have a devastating right-hand side next season. That's my pitch to you. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, in theory, I see where you're going with it, especially with the, Amad, probably more athletic, certainly more of a ball carrier. I think where I have a little bit of an issue with it, and just to bring it to you, is that a lot of United fans will come from this and say, well, he was our best player last year. You'd have to say Bruno, but in terms of anyone else in the side, he's a very important player. Now, it's a bit of a tough one to go to him and say you're playing wing back. The two positions, Alex, I understand where you're coming from totally, and it could actually end up benefiting United. But will Amad feel it benefits him going off the back of his previous season and where his career is currently at, will it be a bit of a difficult conversation for Amorim to go to him and say, look, I'm buying in this guy who is ultimately going to take the position that you favour. You're going to have to play this role that will assist him being better in that position. And it is going to be a bit of a difficult conversation. The reason it could work is because I think Amad's got a really good attitude. I think he seems a great lad. And I think if it was a lot of any of the other breed of United players, certainly the ones that you're trying to move on, it would just be a no conversation starter. That would not happen. They would be out the door or they'd refuse to play. It would just, or they would even go on the pitch and just not go in the position he's told them to. That's all that would happen. So it could work. I just feel like it is a little bit harsh. It feels a little bit harsh on Amad, where he's at in his career to maybe moving back to wing back. But yeah, I see where he's going with it, and it could flourish. It could be a masterstroke by him. And to be fair, most teams will look at that. Amad is dangerous on his own. We found that out in the derby. However, you put Mbeumo on that side as well. That's giving teams something really to think about. So it'll be interesting to see it in action. But Alex, do you think that is exactly what Amorim is going with? Or do you, obviously none of us know, but do you think that's what he has in his head? Or do you think that he could potentially do something different? Surprise us all.
Yeah, I really do think he is looking at Amad right wing back and then Mbeumo right forward. And I think United, Romano posted on his YouTube earlier, you might not have seen it, that United are really looking at a number 9. So that is, I mean, the only way, in answer to your question, the only way Amad could get his way back into that front 3 is if Acuna and Mbeumo played as the 9. Romano said, United now are looking at a 9, which is brilliant. I'm chuffed with that as well. I take your point, and I do feel for the kid a little bit. Does he want to be playing wing back? No. But like you said, this is the manager we have given the keys to. This is what he wants to play. As a fan, I don't love the system. I've said this before to you. As a club, United don't play this system. But if it's got to be this, I want to go down this route because I do see the combination of the two players on that right-hand side. The thing with 3-4-3, Christian, is it creates overloads in wide areas, right? That's the idea of the system where your fullbacks are wing-backs / wingers. So if we have a winger at wing back, then I'm looking at the overloads that we are going to create. Patrick Dorgu on the other side gives hopefully more balance because he's more defensive. So really, you're going back to a 4 defensive players. If you actually counted the number of 4 attacking players, midfielders, and defenders, if Amad's at right wing back, it's probably as per a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. It's just balanced differently, which people don't like, and I take the point. Just want to piggyback on what we were talking about just then, Christian. I did want to just hit you with some stats on just backing up. I know people watching this might say it's not going to work. They're going to tread on each other's toes. You said they might rock the boat with Amad and he might not like it. This is just to back up my points here. We know about the goals. The 20 goals, phenomenal from Mbeumo. Shout at him, by the way. I want to just talk about what I was saying there about the style of the two players. Now, shots per game, this is per 90 because obviously Mbeumo played full season. Amad didn't. Amad actually shot more than Mbeumo per game last season. Slightly. 2.2 to 2.0. So 0.2 a game.
Yeah.
However, a lot more of Mbeumo's shots hit the target. 43% of those shots were on target to Amad's 36. Big difference, right? Now, conversion rates. We did this with Gyökeres, Haaland and Isaac. Non-penalty goal conversion rate. 19% of Bryan Mbeumo's shots turn into goals. Amad is 17%. By reference, Mo Salah, 17%. Now, here's the big thing. The distance of those shots. Very interesting again here, Christian. The average distance of those shots, 17 yards for Mbeumo, edge of the box. Amad Diallo, 17 yards. They're both shooting from the same area, but one's better at it.
Yeah.
And that's Mbeumo. Salah, by reference, is also 17%. His average distance of a shot is 14 yards. Salah does work a lot closer to the goal, probably why the goals are higher, but the conversion rate is lower than Mbeumo, and Mbeumo is shooting from further out. Can United get Mbeumo closer to the goal in those areas? Liverpool get Salah, because Salah doesn't want to do what Diallo does. I'm not putting Diallo on any sort of thing here. I'm just meaning He doesn't want to stand on the touchline and get chalk on his boots and go past 3 people. Salah is saying, I will get past 1 and I'll score. And he's perfected it over 9 years now. And Mbeumo's in that ilk of, he might look a bit clunky on the eye test. You give me 1 defender and I will do the rest. And that's how he is. How do you see the blend of those two with those stats I've given you there? Just before you go, quick one. Dribbles per game. Amad dribbles a lot more. It's 4.1 to 2.9 per game. And Amad passes the ball a lot more. He makes 38 passes, and Mbeumo's only 23 passes per 90. So that's leaning to what I'm saying, where you've got dribbler, link, passer, player in Diallo, and then you've got a shooter, an efficient shooter who operates in a slightly different area of the pitch. But yeah, what's your take on those stats? And obviously,
you're certainly backing up your point. Look, and it does lead to that is what you're going to be playing next year. And also, what it does give you, and the way I think that Amorim's going to have to sell this to Amad is that he's going to have to say, look, the way we are now playing, you are not going to be a right back effectively. You are going to be in positions you want to be. And that's the only way he's going to be able to really sell this, because you're not going to be able to tell a standout winger in the Prem and putting you at right back. But the reality is, so I think, look, Amad will give this a go, certainly. Whether it'll work, I'm not too sure, if I'm being totally honest with you, only because with the system that you're playing, if we look at how it succeeded in the past with like a Perisic and players like that, now, a lot of the time, they do make decoy runs if someone is playing in that sort of Mbeumo role. Now, is he going to want to do that? Because like you highlighted at the start of the video, Alex, they are very similar in terms of we both like to cut in, we both like to shoot. And he is going to have to accept, Alex, a new role. Effectively, because he isn't going to be able to keep doing this, because unfortunately Mbeumo, and Amorim will even have to tell him, he's going to now be the guy that's doing that. And if you have to make a decoy run to open up space, that is what it is. Now, it's going to be a bit of a tough sell if he words it like that, so it all depends on how this conversation goes. So there is a part of me that I think, look, it could work, and certainly leaning on the stats that you tell me, if you are pressing teams into oblivion, and they are both in offensive areas, you certainly make a case for how it could hurt teams. I just think it depends on how much Amad can adapt his game and buy into what Amorim wants him to do. If Amad starts doing what he was doing last season and he's just like, that's me, I want to do that, I do think it'll be a difficult transition.
Yeah, I totally hear you. You make some fantastic points there. I mean, even the statistics there, Bryan Mbeumo and Amad Diallo, average shot distance over a season is identical, 17 yards. It's a yard in from the 18-yard line, Christian.
Yeah, it's
these guys are operating. They've got different styles. Now, what the challenge is for Ruben Amorim, and we'll come to him in a second on what he has to do now, is yes, you have to have a happy camp one. However, with the treatment of Garnacho, Rashford, these guys, it's like, this is my way. I have got full backing from this club. I've just come 15th, and I've exiled players. And Amad is he seems like a great lad, and I cannot imagine this thing. But to your point, this has to go well. You can't be playing players and asking them to do things they don't want to be doing, and then be losing. So the pressure, Christian, on Ruben Amorim now, if he goes down this route, look, if Amad's benched and it's fucking Diallo at right back, this conversation is completely pointless. I just cannot imagine that's going to happen, because the 3-4-3 pressure, the fans don't want to see Diallo at right wing back anymore. We've got Dorgu on one side that we're kind of carrying anyway. So I totally hear you, mate. I think you make a fantastic point. And let's transition into Ruben Amorim and what this means for him now. I said all season, I think we underperformed. I think Amorim underperformed. 15th is not unacceptable for Man United. He could have been sacked. I have been consistent where I wanted Amorim to get his guys in. He's upgraded 2 of that Dross front 3.
Yeah.
In a weird way, Diallo is the position we've also signed in. But what I'm trying to say is we've introduced 2 very talented Premier League players into that front 3 where we were lacking last season massively. You know, we don't need to go into the stats. That's why I didn't do a Garnacho comparison, because we know Garnacho's shit. So what pressure is on Ruben Amorim now, Christian? Because he has upgraded 2 of that front 3. I'm not saying like to be competing with the big boys. It's going to take a few more windows to do that.
Yeah.
But we need to see something now, right? We need to see some offense. We've got Diallo at right wing back. We might have Mbeumo, Cunha. We might have another striker. How much pressure is on Amorim? Talk to me.
There's a lot of pressure on him in terms of this has got to improve, and you have signed 2 players which look like they can really take United forward, and most importantly, bring back the excitement for match-going fans and people that watch it on television at home. In terms of look, the bar is that low. You are going to be better with the additions you've made. It's as simple as that. Yeah. I think where the biggest amount of pressure is probably the thing we've touched on, Alex. I think if you start and things aren't looking good, and you've got either Amad, dare I say, on the bench, like you just mentioned, or Amad is in the position we think he's going to be in, and he's going to be at wing back. Now, that is where fans are going to pile on him. The formation argument on him may be bad, and people pile on him on that, but if you take the best winger from last year and probably one of the only standout players, one of the only players Man United fans actually like and enjoy watching, if you take him out of position and put him at wing back and then suddenly he's stinking the gaff out, he's making blunders at wing back. The pressure then, Alex, we are going another level and you are touching like, right, is this like negligence now? Because it will start being looked at that way by a huge section of the fan base. But in a way, Alex, I respect that. Look, he's come in and he said it's my way or the highway, and you can't really have a pop at him at the moment. I think, look, there's question marks on last season, but I think the squad was absolutely awful. He is signing in players, and to be fair, like I touched on at the start, I do think he's going for the right profile of footballers. He's going Prem proven. He's going for the least amount of risk as possible. He's not punting 70 million on a winger from Benfica that we don't really know anything about and we all have to YouTube. We know Mbeumo's good. We all know he's going to look good at United. I can't see it not going well. Just because when I watched him last year, I put him in my team of the season. You know my thoughts on him. I think he's a quality player. Cunha was one of the most exciting players from last season as well. This is a City fan, by the way. So, look, in terms of pressure, Alex, it's huge for Amorim. And I think them first couple of months up until December are absolutely massive. Because, like I say, if it's going bad, the pressure on him come December, New Year, could be untenable. However, there's another side of the argument, and this could be looking really good. You could be having more possession than the opposition, being able to pin them back, and your right-hand side looks absolutely lethal. So there's 2 ways to go about it.
Yeah. The big thing is the right-hand side for me now. I know it's not the hottest take in the world, but just because Cunha is just in for Garnacho, and it's a like-for-like talent raiser.
Yeah.
The right-hand side is a completely reshaped right-hand side. If he goes, he's got to go down this route. He can't drop Diallo, and he can't play any of them as a number 9. So, look, I think there's big pressure on him now to deliver. I am expecting to see things, like you said, Christian. It's difficult to go 7th, 6th, because we were 15th. So really, in Amorim, he could go, well, if I come 8th, I've gained 7 places. We don't know what the par is for this team because last year was so bad. So I think you're right. It's about the visual. It's about the entertainment. It's about the attacking, the flair. Show us some at Man United. Christian, you grew up in an era where we were the best attacking team in the league year on year. Entertaining people.
I was just going to say this to you, Alex. When was the last time, honestly, you enjoyed watching Manchester United games?
Yeah. It's a great point. It's probably under Ollie, really, because Ten Hag was even when it was good under Ten Hag in that first season, it was quite rigid. It was quite methodical. We were riding the Rashford wave for as long as possible. Under Ollie, we did have those free-flowing games. I was there against Leeds United on the opening day of the season under Ollie, 5-1. Gunning for, we wanted 6 goals. And that was, and I'll always have Ollie in my good graces because of how he embraced what it means for the match-going fan, where it's, you score 4, you go and score 5. Because Jose came second, but it was 3-0, and I'm not bothered now. I'll take this and go home. Nah, Ollie played under Fergie. You go for that 5th, you go for the 6th. Ollie, we beat Southampton 9. Didn't we beat him 9-0, Christian, under Ollie? You're talking, I mean, well, the last year of Ollie was shit. So, what, 5 years ago? 4 years ago.
The last time I was going to say
True.
this, you could probably pinpoint this as to who was in charge of this time, but it was the COVID restart. You know, when we'd abandoned games for ages. I'm guessing that was under who was that?
Yeah, when we were having like Ollie. Yeah, Ollie.
Yeah, it was under Ollie. Yeah, and that was the last time I actually watching games, and I was actually you had Mason Greenwood cutting in. You had, I think Martial and Rashford were playing at that point as well, and you actually looked like dangerous. Like teams had to think about, right, we can't really push forward too much because these three can do something. And it's the last time, and it's a ridiculously long time ago. And I think this is why Cunha and Mbeumo, it's going to bring a bit of joy back to the fans. I think what they've got to do, Alex, and I know I'm not speaking to you here, but Man United fans en masse, not that I really give a shit, but you've got to give this guy time in terms of you can't be expecting too much. You have signed Mbeumo, you have signed Cunha. I do think both are really good pickups for great money. But we also know the other positions, and we also know how bad players are in the other positions. You know, you're not going to suddenly turn into an unbelievable team with them two signings. It's going to become quite glitchy because there'll be some games where it's going to click and you're going to be able to get the ball to a Cunha and Mbeumo, and they're going to be able to dictate the game, and you're going to be able to bulldoze certain opponents and get early goals. But what's also going to happen is when you can't get to the ball to your creative players and it's not suddenly working, and then you may concede a goal, expect them times as well. So if it does get to December and you're not, I don't know where the benchmark is for Man United fans at the moment, but if you're not looking, say, 4th or 3rd, I wouldn't be surprised, and I think you've really got to manage your expectations. And what you should be thinking is, like you, Alex, you just want some joy back. You want to start enjoying games again, and then build from there. You're obviously looking at strengthening the other areas, but I hear there's limited funds, so that's going to be a let's see what happens in them positions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. Take a step back, take a breath after the first 5 games, see what we've seen. Hopefully that we get three results out of the first 5. Then where we are after the first 10 games, then 15, and obviously look, it depends. If he goes and gets, if we do wave a magic wand and sign 3 new starters, the expectations increase.
Oh God, yeah, it all goes in.
It's relative to what we've done. Yeah. Yes, like you said, you make some good points. You know, I'm hoping that in theory, yes, 2 new signings up top, and also Diallo over Diallo is a massive upgrade as well. So that could be 3 in theory, if you get my point. And hopefully we can see Kobbie Mainoo in as well, which might be a 4th player that we didn't see last season. So, Christian, just before we wrap up, I want to just mention about, we did the offensive stats, how it's going to work, what Mbeumo's like as a player. Off the ball, again, I'm going to come back to Amad Diallo. He's our best player off the ball. Selfless, presses, covers ground. Statistically, he's in the top percentiles for winning tackles, interceptions, the lot. Diallo is fantastic. Plus, I've seen it with my eyes. And it was around the time where you've got Garnacho and Rashford who got dropped for the derby, and they couldn't be arsed rolling the sleeves up. And this lad, I think Gary Neville said it in commentary, why does he run around the pitch like it hurts? But, quote unquote, Mr. I'm Academy, born in Manchester, can't be asked to graft. I've seen it. I've seen Rashford not graft in FA Cup finals. Bryan Mbeumo, very good off the ball, good presser. So I'm also looking at this, Christian. You've watched your team under Pep Guardiola, the best pressing team in world football for years now, other than last season. I'm looking at this now where United have never been able to do it. As much as I liked Ollie, we could never get that cohesive, you know, that Pep would just bully teams. I'm looking at this going, you got Diallo. I know he can press because I've watched it. And Mbeumo is meant to be one of the best pressers in the league. Okay, Cunha, might be a bit flary. But now I'm thinking, you've got 2 players on this right-hand side, Christian. You've got younger players in other areas in Ugarte, Mainoo, Patrick Dorgu. I want to see the off-the-ball improvement as well from Amorim. I want to see the press a lot better. And I think Mbeumo and Diallo can also bring that from that side of the pitch as well. I just thought I'd mention that because I know obviously everyone's looking at the 20 goals and stuff like that. But
I agree with you, Alex, and it certainly brings energy to the squad and a different way that you're going to be able to play. And I think that's if you look at the way Amorim was playing with Sporting, the way he was managing that squad, that's how he likes to play. He doesn't want his squads with defender mania at the back and you sitting back and absorbing as much pressure as humanly possible and just waiting for a cock-up by one of the centre-backs. That's not what he wants. So that's why I feel that conversation with Diallo. I think he can I think he can manage it. I think he can put him there, and Diallo will try his hardest. In terms of whether it'll work or not, that's another question. But it certainly does give you a different dimension, and I feel like in certain games you're gonna see really good signs, because if Diallo's firing behind and you've got Mbeumo cutting in and you've got Cunha, it's three very good footballers. So there's going to be games where it looks shit hot, and that's what I mean. But you've just got to kind of run with it, and it's a slow rebuild. Like Alex, you look, I touched back on Mikel Arteta when he took charge of Arsenal. Now, I know there's question marks now, but that's a completely different conversation on can they get it over the line. When he took over, it was a long rebuild, and in fairness, they stuck with him and they got the players he wanted, and he has took them up the table. And in fairness, they are now a powerhouse. Yeah. They are in the title conversations. Now, I think United sticking with this guy and trusting him, and then watching who the first, his two signings this summer, I think is positive for United. I think the fans have got to not be too reactionary or pissed off about last season. You go again, you start fresh. And to be fair, I'd be happy if my club had signed them two players. So we'll put it this way: Mbeumo, would Mbeumo start at City? Yes. Would Cunha start at City? Yeah, probably would. Yeah, especially with the De Bruyne.
No, I think very honest assessment, and I agree with you. I think it's a massive coup for United on these two players. Just bear in mind where we are. Before we wrap up, Christian. Sorry, just another thing. You mentioned Cunha and Mbeumo and Diallo on the pitch at the same time, and those three rolling and what that could mean. You mentioned the XG earlier about, obviously, Mbeumo was the best in the league. He outperformed it by 7.7. Cunha outperformed his XG by 6.4.
Yeah.
And Diallo also outperformed his by 3.3. Obviously, less games, so Diallo had less time to... But again, we've got three players, and hopefully we can bring a 9 in. Who that is, we don't know. We've gone from having players who couldn't even do the basics in the final third. Højlund, he couldn't even get a good XG. Garnacho will have well underperformed it. I've not even bothered looking it up. To go from that to these guys who score more than the computer says they should, brilliant. But I just wanted to touch on that because you mentioned those three guys.
Do you know what? Not only that, Alex, when I was looking, I didn't really go into it because he did only overperform it by a little bit, but he actually overperformed on his expected assists as well.
Assists.
He's really, like, if you look at that, I mean, remember who he was playing for as well. No disrespect, Brentford, but that is seriously good numbers.
Should have had more assists
in the Premier. It is really good, and how efficient he has been this season. I mean, to get nearly double of your expected XG, that shows you're whipping bangers. And to be fair, when I have watched him play, I've seen him attempt a couple. Weirdly, the games I did watch, it was the games where he was attempting them, it weren't happening, which is rare because his fucking XG is so good. But, Alex, I really do think overall, a great move for United, and I think a lot of the fans will be excited. And I suppose you just, it's see where you go from here now, isn't it? What are you thinking next? So it's going to be number 9, definitely.
Apparently that's what Romano said. Obviously, he knows a lot more than me. So, I again, happy with that. I would like a number 9, a goalkeeper, and go from there. 4 new starters. If Emi Martinez is available. Nicholas Jackson. Do you think any club in history has ever had a worse goalkeeper forward combo of Onana, Bayindir, Højlund, and Nicholas Jackson?
No, that's seriously up there, and especially when you consider the money that was being paid for it.
Yeah, well, the money as well. Hit us up in the comments. Do you think a team in history has ever had a worse quadruple of 2 goalkeeper, 2 forwards than Højlund, Jackson, Onana, and Bayindir? Because I don't. Christian, last one before we go, mate. Crazy. The fee. United have negotiated hard this time. They've given it everything, and they've ended up paying what they wanted anyway. Right?
Four Klarna payments.
Yeah, they've got it in 4 Klarna payments. Just an FYI, right? And I'm really chuffed with the deal. I think he's going to be really good for us. But just an FYI, if you want to negotiate hard with a club or in anything in life, you need to make the seller think you're going to walk away at some point. If you don't, just pay it. If you don't have a plan B, which United blatantly didn't. And let's be fair, Christian, what would the plan B have been? Well, we
Smoke
talk
and
about the
mirrors
fees
would have been
here.
the only option, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Christian, look at this. I've got some guys in front of me here. Kudos, 5 goals for West Ham last year, 55 million. Ilanga, 6 goals, 55 million. Madueke, 7 goals, 52 million. João Pedro, he's probably a 9, so a bad example. But again, 10 goals, 55 million. And Brentford have gone. Look at what these guys have gone for.
Yeah.
Our guys scored 20. So you can pay. What have we paid? We've paid 16 million more than Ilanga.
Is it 65 plus 6?
65 plus 6. The good thing with the add-ons is I do believe they are, so I've read, related to Champions League qualification. So if...
Win-win.
Exactly, mate. So you could, in theory, go 65 million up front. I know with United, people will be posting the fucking transfer fee in yen, that it makes it 35 billion yen or something, like, to make it look worse. 65 mil up front for a guy who's done what he's done. Brentford are right, by the way, to ask for that. I assume you agree with the fee. No qualms there.
Like I said, Alex, I think they've done really well, to be honest. If you look at, like we say, these punts these days, for players who have done precisely nothing, and the club that's selling them is going, they might do something. Yeah, 80 million, nice one. And the fact you've gone and got him for 65 plus 6, and he's got Brentford are coming to you going, look what he is doing, and also look what he has been doing. You know what I mean? This guy's in an upward trajectory, and the way you would look at this is where Rio Ferdinand could have said he's only going to get better. Not that fucking idiot. Then I would have actually said, this makes sense, Rio.
Not even just Ekitike and Sesko and these guys. Look at our squad. Højlund costs 10 million more than Cunha.
What was Ugarte?
Ugarte was 50.
This is what I mean.
Sancho cost more than Mbeumo and Cunha. Obviously, Anthony was way more, but we obviously, that was ridiculous in any world. But yeah, so look now. Yeah, it's dragged on. Yes, we have signed him. We've got a pre-season game tomorrow, actually, against Leeds, I think. I think it's tomorrow.
Leeds? That's a biggie, isn't it? So, where at?
Obviously, Leeds, I think it's in Stockholm, I think, the game.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, first look at Cunha. Obviously, nobody else is going to be... Obviously, Mbeumo, we have only just agreed the deal with Brentford, but I think they want to get him on the tour. I think we play Stockholm, and then we get on a plane to America, Christian, so... That'll be the first look at Bryan Mbeumo in a Man United top, hopefully combining brilliantly with Amad Diallo, and we hit the ground running against Arsenal, man.
That's
look, Christian, Alex, thank you for joining us.
I was just gonna say this, Alex, just before we end.
Sorry, yeah, go for it.
Do you think that in them pre-season games, obviously we're not going to see Mbeumo just yet, do you think if he has in his mind that Amad is going to play as a wing-back long-term, do you think he could maybe deploy this and we'll see it in the pre-season and he'll trial it out?
I'd like to think so, Christian. Yeah. Obviously, I won't be alarmed if Diallo is getting game time as that right forward either. But because you want a bit of depth, and if one gets injured, I mean, almost your decision gets made for you.
You haven't really got much up there instead of Mbeumo until Mbeumo gets there, so it's one of them, isn't it? But
yeah, exactly. I know what you're saying. In theory, like say tomorrow, would you play Amad at right wing back to get the ball rolling in that direction? Probably won't. I'm not going to look into it too much. I do want to see in America though a lot of Mbeumo Amad games where if they play the first half, have them on the pitch together. We know what Amad can do as that right 10. We've seen it. So yeah, and obviously
you want it cooking by the time the Premier starts. You want it cooking. Mate, you want to be putting Arsenal to the sword, don't you, Alex? So
mate, I cannot. Who cannot wait? Look, a new signing. I hope every United fan, if you're watching this, comment below. Tell us how happy you are. I'm obviously chuffed. That's 2 in. Let's get a striker. Let's get a goalkeeper, and let's get behind the lads. And let's hope we have a great start to the season. Beating Arsenal be absolutely fantastic. Christian, thank you for joining us, mate.
City, just a quick one. Can you get fucking doing something? Because I'm not watching Doku and Savinho all next year, especially when them bastards have just signed Mbeumo and fucking Cunha. Jesus.
Cunha and Mbeumo or Doku Savinho. I can't even believe I'm saying this. Anyway, the last bit of juice of United pull might have been used there, so just please, lads, don't fuck this up. This might be it. Because Cunha and Mbeumo probably need their heads checking. if we are 16th next year, don't be thinking we can go and poach anyone else, because this might be the last of the juice. So please be good. Right. Good day all round. Everyone enjoy their Friday night, weekend. Hopefully United get off to a decent start against Leeds tomorrow and we see some good signs and no injuries, please. Goes without saying. Christian, thank you for joining us, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, bro.
If you like the video, hit a like, subscribe, and we will have a lot more content coming for you. And obviously as many watch-alongs as we can in pre-season. And obviously the start of the season in a month's time. Thank you everyone for listening. Appreciate it. Catch you on the next one.